Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Rich. I have Anand with me. A few days back, Trump had announced that he has chosen the guy who is going to be replacing Powell as the Fed chair, and since then there's been a lot of pushback, and a lot of people all over the world are questioning his choice on the candidate. So, as a layman, I was wondering what's the big deal, because anyway, even Powell was Trump's selection. Maybe initially there'll be like this and like that, but end of the day, he cannot operate in a vacuum. Whoever the chair is, there is a committee and they all vote on things, and he unilaterally can't decide anything anyways. So all things considered, does it really matter, even if he is leaning towards Trump, is what I was wondering. But Anand said you got this all wrong, and I thought what he said you guys should also listen to. That's why I brought him on to explain why who the Fed chair is very, very important, even if all things said are equal. Yes, Anand.
Normally, the Fed chairman decides the fate of the US dollar. So, and US dollar is the currency of the world, whether you like it or not.
Correct.
So, he is basically the Reserve Bank of the entire world. Second, he normally, more than the actual action, the commentary he gives is what pushes the market up and down.
True.
Yeah. So, there are only 6 meetings in a year, but there are 365 days in a year.
Very true.
So, wherever he goes and whatever he talks is very important. Normally, the board members, unless they have a severe problem,
Hmm.
will not vote against the Fed chairman.
So
It-
the six speeches you were saying was important.
yeah, so these 6 or 7 people cannot oppose him so easily. So normally his decision goes
Stance.
stands. There are two candidates. One is a man called Kevin Hassett, and the other man is called Chris Waller. The Financial Times and the economists have been commenting on that. And what the Financial Times has been saying, big bond investors, because America is a perpetual borrower. So the big bond investors have told the Treasury that they are not comfortable with Kevin Hassett because they fear that Kevin Hassett will
Sway according to.
to sway according to Trump and cut very aggressively. And though he is a serious economist with some papers, he some of his papers have been really off the charts, to be very
Well off the
precise on.
field.
Yeah, so and his reputation has been tarnished by those papers. And his biggest investment call just before the big fall in 2000, he wrote a book saying that the Dow Jones is going to quadruple from there. So his reputation, both in making investment calls, writing papers on COVID, are 50-50. So, and his very aggressive line
Hmm.
on tariff and other things
Hmm.
make him a suspect candidate in the eyes of the bond investors. In one-to-one meeting with Scott Bessent and others, they have clearly told him that it is not possible for them to work with him and they would not like it. So Kevin Hassett is not the favored candidate of the bond investors, and the economist in a piece has clearly said that though Trump may prefer Kevin Hassett, it is better that Chris Waller should be given the chance. And the case for Chris Waller is he has been very prescient on the way interest rates have moved,
Hmm.
and the way he was the first to say that inflation is going to rise. He called for the Fed to increase interest rates before. He also was first to say that Fed has done enough and the inflation will begin to fall. And so he has been pushing for a rate cut now. So the rest of the world, including professionals, when they look at and weigh both the candidates,
Hmm.
they prefer Chris Waller.
Hmm.
And also they believe that Chris Waller has spent a lot of time in the Federal Reserve before this
Hmm.
and therefore will preserve the independence of the Federal Reserve. But
Hmm.
it has always been known, both in Alan Greenspan, Janet Yellen, that the Federal Reserve governor has his own political preferences. But in spite of that, if even if put by the opposition, if the performance is good, Normally, a second term or a third term is granted. Alan Greenspan was the governor for the Federal Reserve, chief for the longest of times. And somebody like Paul Volcker, who did extraordinarily well, was not given another term by Reagan. So this is a very highly political decision, but it has to be confirmed by the Senate. But normally, what happens is, whomever the president picks, the Senate will endorse. But the world markets are at an edge now. Borrowing rates have never been so high at 4%, nearly 4%. Inflation is not going anywhere. Tariff has meant that inflation will come further. The big beautiful means that deficits will continue to grow and America will need to borrow. So if the one of the biggest buyers of US debt was Japan, and who's now Japan will not be able to buy because Japan has its own battles to fight. So the bond investors, if they become nervous and dump some US bonds, the US rates will spike. Then, irrespective of how much you cut the rates, if the bond yields are rising and rates are down, Fed will lose control over the interest rate cycle. Basically, what is you cut the rate, but nobody
Correct.
is buying your bond, the bond value will spike.
Yeah.
And that is what happened in a distress case. Now, the fear for Japan was that Japan was going to get its distress movement. Luckily, the 10-year bond yield, bond auction went through.
Hmm.
So the point is, if you put somebody like Kevin Haas
Hmm.
in the game and he cuts rates very aggressively,
Hmm.
way beyond what is supposed to be cut, and the bond market reacts
Hmm.
by dumping the US bond,
Hmm.
it will have grave repercussions all over the world.
Hmm.
The Indian bond yield is about 6.5 to 7.
Hmm.
Already the FIAs are selling because the yield gap between the Indians and the Americans are very low.
Hmm.
Now watch if the American yields go up because of this guy Kevin Haas doing something stupid.
Hmm.
That means the Indian and the emerging market yields also have to go up.
Correct.
So any problem in the US bond market will have ripples all over the world. It's that chaos theory. Butterfly flapping the wings at one side
Create cyclones.
creates cyclones on the other side of the world. That is what will happen because once the bond yields go up, everybody will rush to buy the American bonds. So money will flow into American bonds. To invest in American bonds, you will sell other assets. So those yields will go up. So this can have a catastrophic effect if they decide to make Kevin Haas the next chairman. So this is the what the bond investors told FT, and this is what economists wrote. So it's something very important. I've been saying everywhere when I speak, next May is very important because that's the when he is decided, and November is also important. That's where the elections, midterm elections, take place. So these two events, all investors are very watching with bated breath to find out what is happening.
So there you guys go. This is why the bond Fed chief and the bond markets are important. It doesn't get as flashy news cycles as your equity market does, as stock markets does. These are in the background, but they are the ones that are holding up the world economy, as Anand explained very eloquently here. I hope you understand that and what the implications it means to the global order, and even in your local area, if you are buying groceries down the street, wondering why do I care about all this, Anand has explained to you very clearly why you should be worried about this and why you should care about this. This has implications for everybody on the planet, especially human beings at least. Anyway, thanks for watching Bearish today. I hope you found this video informative and entertaining. We'll be back again tomorrow with something else. Thank you.
Thank you for supporting BDH.